Hi everyone, my name is Caylene. I'm back again with another tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet this simple and cute drawstring bag using the bean stitch. It also has this spiral edge, which is very easy to make. It's easily accessible and you can use it to put in some of your cosmetics, your coins, or anything you can think of. I'm using it to store my earphones. And this is very easy to make, and if you have some scrap yarn, here's your chance to use it up. I used up only this much yarn, which is exactly 23 grams. This is 4-ply milk cotton yarn DK size. I'm going to be using two hook sizes, which is a 3mm hook and a 2.5mm hook. And you will also need 2 stitch markers, a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, and I also recommend that you have a measuring tape for gauge. Once you have everything, let's get started. You will begin this project with a 3mm hook. To get started, make a slip knot. Then chain 22. And once you have 22 chains, you will do one more chain to make 23. Now what you're going to do is you're going to skip that first chain from your hook and put 1 single crochet into the second chain from your hook. So 1 single crochet into the second chain from your hook. And that's my first single crochet. And go ahead and put a stitch marker through the top of that first single crochet. And what you're going to do next is you're going to put in 1 single crochet into every single chain to the very end of your chain. So 1 single crochet into every single chain. And if you're a tight crocheter like me, you'll want to go easy with your tension. And continue doing this to the very end of your chain. I've reached the end of my chain, and now you should have 22 single crochets, including your first single crochet. And as you can see, I've already put in 1 single crochet into my last chain. What you're going to do now is you're going to put in 2 more single crochets into that last chain. And as we are working our single crochets into that last chain, we're going to be slowly rotating our work this way. And as you go, you will want to hold down your yarn tail against your work because we are going to be putting our single crochets over this yarn tail to hide it. So let's go ahead and put in 2 more single crochets into that last chain. So insert your hook into that chain and going over that yarn tail. 1 and 2. Now you should have 3 single crochets in that last chain. And as you can see, my work is now rotated upside down, and the stitches that we made earlier are now upside down. And what we're going to do is now we're going to be working into the remaining loop of our foundation chain in the opposite side of those stitches. So you're going to be inserting your hook into this loop and put in 1 single crochet into every stitch. So 1 and 3, 4. And you can give this yarn tail a little pull to tighten up the hole in your last chain. And carrying on. So I've done 5 single crochets into the opposite side of the stitches that we made earlier. Now you're going to make 15 more single crochets into every single stitch. I've come to the end of the round, and now I have one more stitch remaining, which is the first single crochet of the round. And what you're going to do now is you're going to insert your hook into that stitch and put in 2 single crochets. And once you've made 2 single crochets, you will join with a slip stitch into the top of your first single crochet where you marked. And that finishes off our first round. And right now my work is about 11.5 centimeters long. And so now we are done with the base of our drawstring bag, and you should have a total of 46 stitches all the way around. Let's begin making the body of the bag. I'm going to switch to a 2.5mm hook, and to make it easier to follow, I'm going to call this round 1. And we will begin doing the bean stitch in this round, which I think is a very fun stitch once you get the hang of it. So to get started, chain 1. Now you will turn your work so that you're looking at the wrong side of your work. Next, you will insert your hook back into the same stitch where your chain 1 is. Yarn over and pull up a loop as if you were going to make a single crochet, but you're going to leave those 2 loops on your hook. Now yarn over as if you were going to make a double crochet, and insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up another loop. Now you will have 1, 2, 3, and 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. Then chain 1. And you've just made your first bean. Now go ahead and put your stitch marker into the top of that first bean. Now let's begin making the second bean. You will skip 1 stitch, and into the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop as if you were going to make a single crochet. Yarn over as if you were going to make a double crochet, then insert your hook back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up another loop, 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. Then chain 1. And that is your second bean. Now repeat, skip 1 stitch and insert your hook into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, insert your hook back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up another loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, then chain 1. Now you have 3 beans, and you will repeat this all the way around, and I will see you at the end of this round. I've come to the end of the round, and so far I've made 23 beans all the way around, and this is how it looks from the outside of your bag. So what you're looking at right here is the inside of your bag. So now after making your 23rd bean, you should have 2 stitches remaining, and you're going to put in your 24th and last bean into that last stitch right next to your first bean. So go ahead and put in your 24th and last bean. Chain 1, and you're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of your first bean where we marked with a stitch marker. Join with a slip stitch, and you are done with the first round. To get started on your second round, chain 1 and turn your work so that you're looking at the outside of your bag. And your first bean will go right into that turning chain right above the first bean in your first round. So go ahead and do your first bean. Chain 1 and go ahead and put your stitch marker into the top of that first bean. Now your second bean will go into that chain 1 space right next to your next bean. So insert your hook into that chain 1 space and put in your second bean. Chain 1, and again your third bean will go into that chain 1 space next to your next bean. So insert your hook and put in your next bean. Chain 1. So you will repeat this all the way around, and I will see you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of the second round, and I've made my 24th and last bean. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the top of the first bean where we marked with a stitch marker. And that finishes off the second round. To get started on your third round, chain 1 and again turn your work so that you're looking at the inside of your bag. And your first bean will go into the top of the first bean in your previous round. So go ahead and make your first bean. Chain 1 and mark the top of that bean with a stitch marker. Now again you're going to put your second bean, your next bean, into the chain 1 space right next to your next bean. Chain 1 and repeat that into the next chain 1 space. So you will repeat this all the way around. Then you're going to join with a slip stitch on the top of this first bean. Then to get started on your fourth round, you will chain 1 and then you turn your work again so that you're looking at the outside of your bag. And you're going to turn at the very beginning of every round to make a crisscross pattern. And so far we've made 2 rounds of the bean stitch. We want to make 20 rounds, so you will make 18 more rounds, and I will see you at the end of round 20. I've made 20 rounds of the bean stitch, and this is how it looks. And so far my work is 12 centimeters wide and 12 centimeters high. So in your 20th round, you should still have 24 beans all the way around. And after making your 24th bean, you should join with a slip stitch into the top of that first bean. Now to get started on round 21, you will chain 1. Then you're going to put in 1 single crochet into the same place. Then you're going to mark the top of that single crochet. Next, you're going to put in 1 single crochet into the space right next to your first bean. Then another single crochet into the chain 1 space next to the other bean. And again, 1 single crochet into the next space. And another single crochet into the chain 1 space next to the other bean. And repeat. And you will do this all the way around, and I will see you at the end of the round. I'm near the end of round 21 and I've just made my 47th single crochet. So you should have 2 single crochets in every space between the beans. And right now I have 1 more chain 1 space remaining next to my 24th bean. I'm going to put in my 48th and last single crochet into that space. Then join with the slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet. And that finishes off round 21. And we are almost done with the body of the bag. We only have 1 more round to go, and in this round we're going to give this bag an edge. To get started on round 22, chain 1. And in this round we're going to be making single crochets, but instead of working this way, we're going to be working backwards. So you're going to insert your hook into the first single crochet behind your hook and make a single crochet. And you can go ahead and mark that first single crochet. And again, insert your hook into the next single crochet behind your hook and make another single crochet. And again. And keep repeating. And you will see that this forms a spiral pattern. So repeat this all the way around and we will finish off together. I've worked my single crochets backwards all the way around. Now your bag should have a spiral edge. I have 1 more stitch remaining, which is the first single crochet of the previous round. I will put in my last backward single crochet. And I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the place where we started off the round, which is where we marked. So insert your hook into that stitch and do a slip stitch. Now you can cut your yarn about 7 centimeters away from your hook. And weave in the end of your yarn. And you can weave it into the beans. can go ahead and cut it off. And we are finished with the body of the bag. And my bag is 12.5 centimeters high. Let's weave in the strings to complete this drawstring bag. I've used a 3mm hook to make 2 chains of 90 to use as strings for this drawstring bag, and they are about 39 centimeters each. I'm going to weave one in from the right and the other in from the left so that you can pull from both sides to close the bag. And I've already marked the places where I'm going to be weaving in the strings, and I counted 11 beans beginning from the first bean in round 20. So let's begin weaving in the first string using your yarn needle. You're going to insert your needle under that first bean and out through the space right next to that bean and over the next bean and into the space right next to that bean. So under, over, under, over, and pull as you go, and make sure you're going in and out through the same spaces and that your yarn needle doesn't get caught in one of the strands of yarn. So going under and over, all the way around, and pulling as you go. And I've just pulled my yarn needle out through that last bean, and you should have one bean remaining in between, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that stitch marker and adjust so that both ends of your chain are the same length. And let's begin weaving in the second string. You're going to insert your needle under that bean where we marked. And you will want to pay attention to your other chain. If your other chain went under a bean, you will also want to go under. If it went over, you will also go over. And again, pulling as you go. And make sure you're going in and out of the same spaces. And I've just pulled my needle out through the last bean, and there should be one bean remaining in between. Now adjust so that both ends of your chain are the same length. And once they are the same length, you will tie a knot on both ends. And you can go ahead and cut off the ends of your yarn. And there you are. Your bag is finished. And I'm going to first remove my stitch marker. And I'm going to use this to store my earphones. Thank you for crocheting along with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider supporting me by hitting the like button and subscribe to my channel. This will be a huge motivation for me to continue sharing more projects with you every week. I'm hoping that we can continue to crochet together again every week.